Good morning, Spencer.
Good morning to you.
Got a great guest in studio here from the city of Tumwater, and we're going to be talking about some of the things that are happening there in the city. It's Neil McClanahan here. He is a council member as well through the end of the year for the city of Tumwater in position 7. Good morning, Neil.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here. And Shelton grad?
Yes, I am. 1970.
Go Climbers. Very cool. You are a council member for the city of Tumwater. One of the areas of interest that you have is affordable housing and more parks for our neighborhoods. Affordable housing kind of leads us into this conversation. And we talk a lot about affordable workforce housing here in Shelton. We'll also talk a lot about ways that the community can get more involved. And there's a real unique neighborhood in Tumwater. It's right across the street from Peter G. Schmidt Elementary. Allen Orchards is the name. And tell us a little bit about this area of Tumwater and kind of the background of it.
Well, I'm on the not only on the Tumwater City Council, but I'm also chair of the Housing Authority, and have been for a number of years, close to 30 years. So before that, I was. While I was still in office, I was also undersheriff for Thurston County Sheriff's Office. So I saw the need of housing for a lot of families that were in need, poverty, and how that equates to what happens to poor families and stuff.
Yeah.
And in the communities. So it's always been my dream that, excuse me, that we could somehow hook up a situation where we could have a school and some housing with homeless kids, and school with some housing that could match up for the kids of the homeless kids in the school and the housing. So Allen Orchard was, we purchased it several years ago from the Housing Authority, and we built over 15 duplexes over there. A sip of water.
Oh, sure. So this is, again, kind of right by Peter G. Schmidt Elementary off Capitol Boulevard. There you see the new look to the school. And,
it's on Dennis Street,
it's
right?
on Dennis Street, Dennis and Capitol.
Right across the street, across the street. Chris Lowell, who was the executive director at the time, whatever, she knew my dream. And, we've been working on that for all the years I've been working with the Housing Authority. And she came to me and said, Neil, we have a opportunity here. Why don't you see if the Tumwater School District may have some homeless kids over there at Peter G. Smith that could walk across the street and have a place to live, instead of couch surfing or living in a car or living in a broken down mobile, camper trailer or whatever, living in the woods or a tent. So. We identified 5 units over there that could be utilized for that. And these are 2 or 3 bedroom apartments. So I went over to talk to John Dash, and this was about a little over 2 years ago. John Dash is a superintendent, still is a superintendent of Tumwater Schools. So I sat down with him. I said, John, what if we had housing over there for these kids that could come, that live over there, that are homeless at Peter G. Smith, that when they need to go home, they could go home to a house right across the street. And so he got with his powers to be, the principal over there, and they got together and they identified 5 families that could meet those needs and stuff.
So who owns the property? Is it the city, or is it the school district, or the Housing Authority?
Housing Authority owns it. We've done a real good job of the Housing Authority about buying housing. We have owned over 550 units, and these are units that are, some of them are homeless units, transitional housing, low income housing, but market rate housing as well. The market rate housing ones pay for the other ones. So we generate about $1 million a year, every year, that we can put back in the money back into this. Let me back up a little bit. During that time frame, we were still looking at monies that we could utilize to make this thing happen. Denny Heck, we got a hold of Denny Heck or whatever, and there's some HUD McKenna money that was available, and so we were able to garnish a little bit of that as well and stuff. So Denny Heck, Congressman Heck, was also part of this. So in essence, what we ended up doing is really these kids then identified by their the homeless coordinators in their school. Don't kid yourself. All our schools have homeless children in them.
Oh yeah.
We all have them in Shelton, in Tumwater, and all the area around there, or whatever. And these teachers or their liaisons to that or whatever are working with these kids every day to help them work with it. Another program I started years ago was homeless backpacks. That when we used to feed these kids and stuff.
Sure.
And I did that with Kelly Wilson with homeless backpacks, and that involved also grew into with Robert Coit over at the food bank to feed. It used to be 250, 450. Now it's over 1,700 kids that we feed every Friday. They get a backpack because every kid's got a backpack.
Yeah.
So it's just not a surprise or whatever.
When it comes to the families that live in Allen Orchard, is there stipulations that the student has to go to Peter G. Schmidt? I mean, so like after the end of the time they matriculate to the middle school, do they have to leave, or do they stay in that housing unit through as long as they want? Or
yes, they can stay as long as they want in that arena. It's what is interesting about this was a good fit because we had at that time they had a need for housing for homeless kids in that school at the time.
Okay.
Not all schools have a need for housing, in their school districts and stuff, for, in adjacency issues for that. A good example of that is, I've asked this before, what is the biggest need over there now in the Tumwater School District? Well, it's Little Rock School.
Sure.
Little Rock School down there, and they have a lot of need for housing down there, but we haven't yet, as far as we speak, we haven't yet gone down there and looking, but we're looking into building down there as well.
What do the principals and staff at Peter G. say about maybe a change that they've seen from the students before they weren't quite sure where they were going to sleep that night to when they have a roof over their heads?
Oh, can you imagine what it would be like for a little kid to not only have as one little kid said, they went in there and they showed him the room or whatever, and he says, well, wow, I never had one of these before. And they said, what's that? And he says, your bedroom? He says, no, a bed.
Wow.
And so,
wow.
So we're talking about, the basic needs for these kids and stable. And, you have to have stability with these children for them to learn and to work with them.
Yeah.
And this is the bare basic need that they have with this and feeding that need. So it was a really good marriage, and it worked out really, really well. And it was a plus for that, for the whole community.
Yeah.
So.
What's the time frame that the families stay here? Is it permanent? Is that the hope, or is it cycled through different families as the need becomes necessary for other families, or how does this work with the demand for it?
Well, we're pretty flexible with the housing authority, and people usually sometimes they get on their feet because it's an emergency shelter or whatever, and they get behind their feet. A lot of these folks, have they may be homeless, but a lot of parents may have 2 or 3 jobs, trying to make ends meet and stuff, and try to pay for rent or whatever.
Sure.
So the hope is they get on their feet, the kids get stabilized and stuff, and then hopefully they'll move on, and then opens it up for more families, other families to move in, on top of that. So it's an ongoing evolution on that too, which we pride ourselves on working on that with the housing authority and with the school districts.
Neil McClanahan is a council member for the city of Tumwater. You can learn more for the Housing Authority of Thurston County at hatc.org. It's got a lot of great information and resources there that you can find out. We'll put the links in the show notes here. But a real unique way to bring housing to those who need it, especially in the Tumwater area right near Peter G. Schmidt. Councilmember Neil McClanahan from the city of Tumwater on the air with us right now. It was really nice talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks.